are back from the JMT, and it's been a few weeks actually since the JMT, and we are happy to announce that it was a great success. And like all YouTubers who go on a hike and document their hike, we are obligated by YouTube rules to also show you our gear. So we are doing that today. So first things first, what I wore, and I'm just going to show you mine because Cesar is a little bit more introverted, not as much into the camera stuff, but ours is very similar, and he carried a little bit more weight than me just to help with some of the stuff that we needed, but I'll show you what he carried in addition to what I had. But otherwise, top is a Ridge Merino wool hiking shirt. It has an awesome hood. I love this thing so much. I was a little worried that it might be too hot most of the time, but with this, it was awesome. And the best part is it honestly never smelled. That was honestly the best part. So highly recommend this shirt by Ridge Merino. I also have the REI pants, and I'll put all the specifics in the description box below. So shoes, these are what worked best for me. I have very flat feet, and I have orthotics, custom orthotics for them. And I found that these were the best fitting shoes for my feet. Obviously, not everybody finds them the same. These are the Hoka Stinsons. And I have 2 new pairs now just because I finally found a pair of shoes that works awesome for me. Nice and cushiony and nice and broad toe box and just awesome. So that's that. And for hat, I had the Outdoor Research very thin meshy hat, so nice and breathable. So that was what I wore. Inside I'll show you extra pair of undies so you see what obviously I wore underneath too. And hiking poles were critical for me, and we used the Zpacks carbon fiber ones. We have the aluminum ones, which are made by Black Diamond. They are super durable. They're just a little heavier. We used these. These worked okay. I'll be honest, they started to wear down at the very tip there. So, and for Cesar, it wore down even more, actually, to the point where he had to throw away one of the poles, and that was kind of critical because we had a trekking pole tent. Thankfully, my backup was also fine. So, not going to use those again, or won't purchase them again. We'll probably just end up using Black Diamond from now on. Okay, now on to the stuff in the bag. So we use Zpacks Arc Blast 55, I think it is, and fantastic bag. This is our only backpack. We started backpacking around the time of the beginning of the pandemic, so we purchased this and we've never needed anything else. So far, so good. It's really been an absolute joy to have a framed, very light pack, and I've never had any issues with it. We did buy the lumbar padding to make it a little bit more cushiony. And I actually, for this trip, got a fanny pack that I used in the front, and it's huge. So I would put gummy bears and my trail mix and my phone and all of my, you know, sundries like sunscreen and lip balm in here, and everything would fit. It was fantastic.
It's fantastic.
So we'll start with what's on the outside of the pack in the mesh. Just gonna grab stuff as I go. This is our poop kit. Everyone needs a poop kit because everybody poops. And this is our big trowel. Cesar does the backcountry bidet, so he had a little bit of soap that he would use after. These are like, everyone should use these. These are the best things ever. They are rehydratable towelettes, and they are so light. It's basically having wet wipes without the water, and you just rehydrate it with your water bottle, and it is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
And then we obviously pack these out, but that's what I used as my wiping system. So we didn't bring toilet paper. It was perfect. So lots and lots of these came along with us in our book kit. And continuing on, a little bit of a luxury item. I anticipated with all the miles that I would start having some foot problems, which actually never really did, no blisters at all. But there was, it's a good thing to massage, so I had a little massage cork ball from Trailside Fitness. And along with that was some extra cordage that we ended up using on one of the days that we had a little bit more wind to tie down our tent a little better. We have, so this was just sort of just to show you what we carried. In case we needed any to like help anybody who might have gotten injured along the way, I was taught to bring some gloves. I'm in the medical world, so just in case, I wanted to have some kind of natural barrier between me and anyone that might need help. So brought some not sterile gloves, but just gloves. A repair kit with all sorts of sewing stuff and patches, and a couple extra masks. We didn't know if the mask requirements were gone in the national parks and if we were to go inside any of the buildings. And we also thought we might be using this in case it got really smoky, but we actually never needed it. Bought a couple of little towels. This was what I used. Cesar didn't even need the towels. Whenever we would take a dip in the lakes, I would dry off with this little guy, and it's a nice little microfiber towel. It worked really well, and it's so light. We also happened to get this perfect little Swedish towel at this little store on the way to Yosemite before we dropped off our car. And it's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Because it's really highly absorbent, very light, like a piece of paper, and dries really quickly. So we would do this to wipe our condensation inside our tents some mornings when there was condensation. So it was a really nice little addition. A couple more things on the outside of the pack. My headlamp, it's a Nitecore with a nice little bungee to make it even lighter. And a neck knife. And this, and then if we needed to cut anything, which I don't think we ever needed this actually. And then also hiking gloves. Very important if you're going to have hiking poles, because no blisters on the fingers either, so that was great. And finally, this was normally my bear can, but a spoon. All right, that's the mesh. So now we'll go into the inside of the pack. Got Puffy. This is the Arc'teryx Arc'teryx women's, I forget the brand. I'll tell you later when I find it. And it's super light and very warm and just perfect. We used that for a long time. This is a Senchi design fleece mid-layer. It was so nice to have this, so light and so warm, and I like the fact that it has the zipper so you can adjust how warm and hot you want to be. And didn't really need it, but of course you gotta always have it, and that is rain gear. So we have our Enlightened Equipment VISP jacket and with the pit zips and the rain pants. Now Cesar didn't even bring the pants, which come to think I didn't need it either. So pants and jacket. Moving along, we got our first aid kit in a nice little Dyneema pouch. Toiletries with floss, which we actually use, and all the stuff you need for the dental stuff. Our everyday sunscreen and sunscreen lip balm and alcohol. And then I always like to keep them in these little pouches for myself for organization. I have my pair of glasses that I use at night after I take my contacts out. And normally at home I wear monthly contact lenses, but then I have to have solution in a little container, and I don't want to mess with any of that in the backcountry, so I use daily contact lenses that I stuff in here, and then I just, you know, pack out all the waste, which makes it a lot easier and cleaner. And then in this other stuff sack, I have my extra pair of underwear. These are the Brandwin pair of merino wool bras, and I have Exofficio underwear, and so I had a pair each, one extra pair of each, plus an extra pair of socks, and I use the Injinji merino wool as well. And again, no blisters, so worked for us. And then I brought these, and I actually used them the first few days. My knees always swell up a little bit. They just don't know what's happening to them during the first few days of the hike, and then finally they get used to it, and then they chill out. And so these were nice little compressions to have on the knees those first few days. So that's it for those things as far as extra clothes go. And then we go into the sleep system and everything that needs to be waterproof. So we put it in our little pack liner here. And in that we have our electronics, basically a power bank, 20,000 amp power bank, and the cords and the, basically to recharge all of our electronics, which included watch and headlamps, of course, and our phones. My phone, which I'm using to record here, is a Samsung Galaxy S20, and worked great. And one little hack, trick, whatever you want to call it, that worked beautifully and helped reduce the need for charging the phone so often was just literally keeping the screen facing away from the body. So I would always keep it right here on my side, and I normally would, like every time you put your phone in your pocket, you put your screen face in, so you're protecting the screen. But it touches your body, and if you're sweating, it activates the screen half the time when you're hiking, and so you're constantly draining your battery. So such a simple solution, just flip the screen facing outwards, and the phone never turned on. It never activated itself constantly, and we could go for 2 days, sometimes 3 days without charging the phone, and we were using our phone for photography or photographs, videography, and for local GPS, and yet still didn't have to charge it that often. So just flipping the phone around the other direction made all the difference and reduced our needs for charging, which was a big deal. So then we have sleeping clothes. I have the Smartwool lighter layer 150s of the pants and shirt, which I wore every night. And especially because with this shirt, of course, it is merino wool, it didn't smell, but the drawback was that it captured moisture just a little longer. So while Cesar's Patagonia Capeline shirt dried out really quickly at the end of the day, mine still stayed a little sweaty. So it was even more useful for me to have an extra pair of sleeping clothes. He never actually wore his sleeping clothes because his dried out so quickly. We brought with us the Therm-a-Rest NeoAir Xtherm. Really good R value, just really didn't want to have any cold nights, especially since we knew we were going to be in the alpine zone for so long. Even though it's August, you never know with the Sierras. And another luxury item for sure was the insufflator for our air pads. This Therm-a-Rest one was made for it, and it's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
In our video we talk about why it's so good, but basically it helps keep you from having to blow your own moist air into it, and avoids mildew, and it saves your lungs, so really nice. And we have quilts, so the Katabatic quilt straps were also in this little pouch that we carried with us. And then I had the Trekology Inflatable pillow with strap that fit around our air mattress. And I brought an extra pillow because my knees hurt if I don't have something between them when I'm sleeping, especially since I'm a side sleeper. So this little pillow did the trick. So maybe a luxury item, but definitely helped me sleep better. And finally, the last thing, the most important thing, and worth every penny, is our Katabatic quilt. Love this thing. Basically, it's the one that completely opens, and that also has a great foot box when you close it all up, and always stays warm in this thing. Sometimes too warm. Sometimes we'd have to leave it open and treat it like a blanket because some of the nights in the Sierra, especially in the lower elevations, were just too warm. But I love this thing so much. It is such a great thing to have, and never will try anything else.
It's the best. I love it.
Okay, that's everything. So, oh my God, the most important thing, our tent and our food kit. So this is because Cesar carried the tent, and we couldn't replace it back in its original bag that came with it. But this is the new Durston Dyneema 2-person tent. The X-Mid Pro 2. I loved it. It worked fantastically. We had tested it before the trip on a rainy day in the San Gorgonio area, and worked beautifully, nice and dry. And we coupled it with the groundhog stakes, and no issues at all. So really great tent, and very happy that it came just in time for the JMT. And then as far as our cook equipment, Cesar carried this as well. Evernew Titanium 1400 milliliter pot. And inside we have our little bandana that holds everything nicely from making noise, and also to help clean it. More of those little rehydratable tablets to clean it. Cesar's very fastidious about cleaning, which is really nice to have. Our little lighter and our MSR PocketRocket stove, which was just really great. You've all seen these before. And a pair of storm matches just in case as backup. And that's everything. Of course, our fuel can was in there. Yeah, so great success. I think over the last 2 years, we've dialed down a pretty good kit that works for us. My base weight, including my bear can, was 13 pounds. It would have been 11 without the bear can. And Cesar's was 15 pounds. We normally do base weights around 11 to 12 pounds. And our carrying weight for the first stretch before we resupplied was a 9-day stretch, which is why it was so important that we had protected our phones so we wouldn't have to recharge and lose our ability to keep charging our Garmin, which I forgot to show you was the last gear item. I had the Garmin Mini in reach. We needed to make sure all these things were charged. So that first 9-day stretch, we carried everything, including 9 days of food, but we managed to put the first 2 or 3 days of food in the bear boxes that were at the campsites that we had selected. So we stayed legit the whole time. We always had our food properly protected. And as I'm talking to you, I'm remembering there's one last thing that every girl knows about, and that's the cooler cloth. So also kind of a necessary thing if you're a chick. All right, well, that's everything. I hope that this was entertaining at the very minimum and maybe useful at the maximum. So yeah, this is what we use now moving forward. We really haven't needed to buy anything else. The gear seems to work well. Oh, and a lot of times people ask, well, what about camp shoes? So we didn't bring camp shoes. We brought plastic bags, just like grocery bags. or some people use bread bags, but we used plastic bags, and we didn't actually really need them because our feet never got wet. We never needed to, or if they got wet in the beginning of the day, they were dry by the end of the day. So we never really needed to use them. So we would, theoretically though, if we needed to, we would just put our camp socks on, put the plastic bag over that, and put that combo into our hiking shoes. And our hiking shoes are not boots, so they're comfortable enough to walk around camp. And frankly, we were hiking for like 11 to 12 hours a day. So by the time we get to camp, we would just set up, eat, go to bed. So it wasn't like a lot of dilly-dallying around camp. Okay, well, have a great time. Bye.